Recording in progress.
Hello, dear Dharma friends. I just had a last-minute tea delivery from my daughter, who was here the last couple of days, and she's on her way out. So, it's now. It's now and we are here. At least that which we take ourselves to be our is here. A poem for the day. It's by someone called Andrew Schelling from a book, Meeting the Buddha, edited by Molly Emma Aitken. Only the walker who sets out toward ultimate things is a pilgrim. In this lies the terrible difference between tourist and pilgrim. The tourist travels just as far, sometimes with great zeal and courage, gathering up acquisitions, a string of adventures, a wondrous tale or two, and returns the same person as the one who departed. There was something inexpressively sad in the clutter of belongings the tourist unpacks back at home. The pilgrim is different. The pilgrim resolves that the one who returns will not be the same person as the one who set out. Pilgrimage is a passage for the reckless and subtle. The pilgrim, and the metaphor comes to us from distant times, must be prepared to shed the husk of personality or even the body like a worn-out coat. A Buddhist dictum has it that, open quotes, the way exists, but not the traveler on it, close quotes. For the pilgrim, the road is home. Reaching your destination seems nearly inconsequential. Only the walker who sets out toward ultimate things is a pilgrim. In this lies the terrible difference between tourist and pilgrim. The tourist travels just as far, sometimes with great zeal and courage, gathering up acquisitions, a string of adventures, a wondrous tale or two, and returns the same person as the one who departed. There's something inexpressively sad in the clutter of belongings the tourist unpacks back at home. The pilgrim is different. The pilgrim resolves that the one who returns will not be the same person as the one who set out. Pilgrimage is a passage for the reckless and subtle. The pilgrim, and the metaphor comes to us from distant times, must be prepared to shed the husk of personality or even the body like a worn-out coat. A Buddhist dictum has it that, quote, the way exists, but not the traveler upon it, close quotes. For the pilgrim, the road is home. Reaching your destination seems nearly inconsequential. So, my friends, the journey is inward. Let's take a moment to look around our screen and I just had a funny thought. You know, when you're going on the computer and you need to find all the buses, click all the buses, or click all the crosswalks. I just thought, to prove you're a human, click every box that has a dog in it. I think there's only one at the moment. Or click every box that has someone that is obviously wearing headphones, or I don't know, silly. Isn't it ridiculous what the human mind comes up with? Endlessly. Okay, so let's stop. Let's reflect. Let's reflect upon gratitude for a few moments. There's the usual things, of course. Hot tea. Waking up this morning, being able to walk, seeing, no shooting nearby. It's a lot. But let's also go back in time and think of something in your lifetime. Some chance encounter, maybe a first pet. Someplace that your heart and mind were kind of blown open. Re-inhabit that place of wonder, or some time when you were really sure you were loved and loving. The meditation and brain research people are pretty clear that the human mind tends toward finding the problem quite accurately, quite effectively. And it had a lot to do with survival, right? The tribe, the individual that worried about the future and put aside more food, made it through the winter, that kind of thing. So it's easy to find the flaws and problems and failures, but to look back on our lives and reflect upon some moment of wonder. And this, of course, happens now in the present moment, where the past exists. And let's now drop the past completely. Let's come home here to the body. To breathing in and breathing out. Each breath has a beginning as it emerges out of nowhere, out of no-thingness, There is the mystery of awareness. The breath comes into being, and there somehow, remarkably, is knowing it. And then the mind wanders, the great thought generator of the mind. And we find ourselves awakening in the midst of wandering minds. And so the practice is profoundly simple. There's a beautiful little song from Gina Salah that speaks to the nature of practice. The words are, "Lie back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms, you are safe from harm. Lie back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms, you are safe from harm. Lie back in the arms of love." And so we sit not just observing, but being that which observes with the heart opening, accepting what is encountered. And taking mood into the realm of observation, what is the mood of the moment? What is the emotional texture of the moment? Lie back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms of love. Lie back in the arms, you are safe from harm. Rest back in the arms of love. we are supported. We, in a way, choose to be supported in the pilgrimage by taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And this refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is not some religious exercise. It's not some religious tenet. I must believe in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha to be a Buddhist. It is instead a profoundly dynamic, living practice. At every chance I get, I'm going to be awake. I'm going to know what's happening internally and externally, moment by moment. When someone's speaking, I'm going to watch the mind for what resonances are being stimulated. I'm going to study to articulate the actions, the impulses to action that arise in the mind and be aware of them. This is refuge in the Buddha. Refuge in the Dharma. Things are actually as they are. And there are strategies of practice. Breath counting, emphasizing strong concentration or more mindfulness. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the three characteristics of all things. They are impermanent, incapable of ultimately satisfying, and nowhere in this will I find a self. And finally, I take refuge in the Sangha. 2,600 and some years, this particular lineage of teachings, an awakening teaching, has been passing down from teacher to student for about 140 generations. Our lineage, Uba Kin, Ruth Denison, to me, to you, to us. I take refuge also in the community of practice, to have our good friends here on a Sunday morning to support us in stopping. And so we sit comfortably upright, letting the body breathe by itself. observing how trance states arise, which are completely convincing. What we call a memory from the past can arise, and we are transported back across space and time. And there we are in that moment again. Or some thought or thoughts of the future, perhaps a fear. I don't want this to happen. And we become completely mesmerized by them. We become them. And then the mysterious mindfulness happens. And we discover, oh yes, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out, and allowing mindfulness to establish its foothold deeper and deeper in the process. Participating in the mystery of awakening. Resting back in the arms of love. Lie back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms, you are safe from harm. Lie back in the arms of love. letting go of the past. Letting go of an imagined future. Really inhabiting this breath, this moment. Time and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Awareness illuminates the wandering minds. It illuminates the 5 hindrances of desire, wanting something or not wanting something, pushing against it. Restlessness, agitation, worry. Sloth and torpor, dullness, lazy mind, and doubt. remembering that we can be profoundly intimate with each breath. There is that longing for or need for in-breathing well before in-breathing begins. And then there's the spontaneous movement of the diaphragm and breathing occurs. And then incoming or rising happens. And then there's pausing, and then there's decline. We are honing a mind that can observe these details, that is hungry to observe these details very closely, with great love and compassion. We all come out of the earth, just as waves come out of an ocean. We have our little time to dance in the sun, and then we dissolve again. This inherent instability of human life creates a lot of suffering for us. In fact, there are some who say the roots of all anxieties are in the fact that the self knows it is time limited. So we can intend our hearts toward compassion for ourselves, recognizing the fact of this existence right here, now. And whenever there's suffering of any kind, tired, frightened, anxious, I intend to hold myself in sweet compassion. And of course, everyone on earth, every human, all 7 billion of us, 7 billion, we all have similar anxieties and fears and hopes, and we get sick. Our family members get sick and die. And this goes beneath and through all political persuasions, everyone. And so let us dedicate the merits of our practice to all beings. May all beings everywhere. May all human beings on the earth be touched by the sincere love and compassion of our practice. And so we rest. As Ruth would have said, we rest, it did say, we rest in the beauty of our being, acknowledging our interbeing with all of life. And noticing now the buttocks and thighs where they press into the chair. Notice the life in the hands and arms, in the throat, in the face, in the eyes. And now, as the gong sounds, noticing the intention to open the eyes, and then operationalize that. Make the effort to lift the eyelids and then observe what happens with seeing. Good morning, beautiful human beings. Please join me in taking a wander through the eyes of a few other people. I'm going to speak a little bit this morning after Jim's movement about wise intention and wise thought. We can cultivate how we see the world. And so we can think of just something very simple, like, oh, may you be happy, or I hope your Christmas was, if you do Christmas, was only moderately catastrophic. We had one teenage meltdown that was really pretty thick. Jennifer got quite embroiled in it, and I was watching. It's so difficult not to get caught up in the emotional scene, and then to have judgments. It's quite something. So anyway, we can look at each other with some love. I have a little list of announcements. The first you will find in the chat. There's a list of the various activities, the teaching context that Candle is doing. And oops, I lost this other one. Where'd it go? Here we are. I'm going to show you this. Share screen. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So the Women's Restorative Rejuvenation Circle with Kendall Summers, 4 Fridays, once a month for 4 months, starting the 21st. And Women's Restoration and Rejuvenation offers a monthly group of self-identified women and those non-binary. A place to come together in community to share our wisdom and strength and our sense of belonging in the world. That's pretty nice. And then, will this work? Yes, it did. If you come to the website, and right here, Sangha Night at the Movies on the 4th of January, I'll be playing, it's not at the movies, I'll be playing an audio thing of Vanessa Redgrave reading or performing from Joan Didion's book, The Year of Magical Thinking. And I'm doing this in honor of her because she passed away last week. What am I missing, Jim? Oh, wait a minute. I got one more that I remember. There's a golden opportunity for practicing some dana, the practice of generosity. With our end-of-year fundraising, our budget balancing fundraising. And so you may have received a letter, you'll get an email, I think, if you're on various lists. You can also go to the website and take delight in making the gift of freedom, the gift of surviving getting close to suicide. People come to PIMC in various stages of awakening and disarray, and it truly saves lives. So I just thought of it, it's like giving to an emergency hotline. But better even, or more, not better, but you're also giving to a context in which people really, really wake up. And they blossom forth with so much love and compassion that our lives are changed. So, and if you do that, I hope that you will do it very consciously. Don't just go and do it, but reflect on it. What am I doing? So, what am I missing, Jim, that's of great importance? Oh, New Year's.
When you
hang on, I don't have any sound.
First page of PortlandInsight.org, on the right-hand side, there was a thing about signing up as a volunteer to put the center back together sometime in January. So, but it's already posted there, so you can register to get notified as the plans develop for reassembling our home base. If you're in the Portland area, you're invited to join the Karma Yoga. That's right, I couldn't get the word. Karma Yoga. Joining together in action.
Thank you, Jim. And New Year's Eve from 9 o'clock till 12:15, Gary Sanders and I are going to be hosting an end-of-year party, acknowledging the year that passed and clarifying intentions for the year to come and taking the refuge into the new year. There's a registration link for that somewhere, too. And if you're on the Connections listserv, all this information is always in the Weekly Digest. All right, I think we have spoken enough announcements. The ritual of announcements is over. Jim, would you like to do some movement with the folks?
Right. Delighted. So join me if you can, if you wish, and stand. If you wish to stay seated, you can just use your upper body. That's possible. That would be another way of enjoying your body.
I'm going to spotlight you, Jim.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to do that. Okay.
Oh, why don't you go ahead and do it?
All right. And here we go. I have more ceiling than I need. All right. So if we were at the center on Duke Street, and I was up on a platform, I could be seen from all angles of the space there. I'd go through the 18 steps of Shibashi. I don't know if I'll go through all 18 steps, but we'll start the first half anyway. So the idea of Shibashi is to give your limbs a chance to loosen up and release tension. It's a chance to breathe a little deeper, get more oxygen into your bloodstream. There's all sorts of benefits from doing Qigong, but it's also an exercise in awareness. We stand and we can use the awareness like a laser beam and zoom right into the bottoms of the feet and attend to the sensations. The feet feel like this when we're standing. And the body relaxes a little more if we sink into the knees and sort of point the tailbone downward instead of having it angled out at a 45 or some arbitrary angle. When we consciously sink into the knees, there's just a settling of the spine and the balancing of the skull on the spine above. The skull is above, the spine is below. But anyway, we'll sink a little deeper and then let the arms float up. And then what's the mood of a body that is smoothly moving upward and downward with no abrupt changes, just monitoring the speed and the flavor of the movement, making it soft and round. So your arms are out away from your hands are out away from the body, and then you draw them in and they stay close to the body going down. It feels like this. It feels round and smooth and soft. And the mood changes as the gesture changes. So that's an opening move. Now we're opening the arms out to the side and come back to the center and notice how the capacity of the breathing changes. Full breath in and then a long breath out. And the mood changes subtly again because you're opening the arms, accepting more inflow, more oxygen. And then we can give the shoulders a chance to stretch overhead, and then just paint a rainbow. Move back and forth across the sky with your hands like you're painting a rainbow. And notice the sensations in the rib cage, in the side of the outside of the leg as you shift the weight back and forth. And then releasing the arms down, just pause for a second. After they've been stretched above, it feels like this, to sink into gravity. Just let gravity pull your arms out of the shoulder sockets. And then crossing your hands in front of you stretches the shoulder blades away from the spine. And we come up overhead and we go out to the side. And as we go out to the side, the shoulder blades are squeezed together. So we're getting a little massage in the back. You can use that laser attentiveness to feel the squeezing and the opening in the back. It massages all those sensations up and down the spine, but especially in the center where the shoulder blades are, the upper part. Okay, and then we're going to twist. We're going to let the hip move forward on one side and pull back on the other, and then let the arms extend with the hip. So if the hip's going forward, that arm is moving forward. If you're pulling back with your hand, you're pulling back with your hip. So the hand and the hip are talking to each other and working together. And that feels good. That coordination, that the mood of agency. I can push things away or pull things in through my intention, and that results in an action that that side of the body works together with. Then again, pause, surrender to gravity, no movement. Well, there's movement, but tiny, tiny micro movement, no gestures. And then suddenly a new gesture is rotating all the way around with the arms. And again, the mood changes with large gesture. And if there's soreness, then there might be a negative mood, but it can also be a positive, or maybe it's just neutral. And then reaching across, let one heel come off the floor, and then the other side. And again, there's sensations in the shoulder blades, in the shoulders. There's sensations in the sternum or the ribs in the front attach, because you're squeezing them a little bit on one side, and then the opposite. And then really twisting the spine, we look over our shoulders, gazing at the moon. Open hand, open fingers, no clutching, no grasping, no clinging, just open to the possibilities over here, open to the possibilities over here. What's the mood? Scanning, down, lifting, up. The eyes just taking it all in from one side to the other. The whole body turning. Then again, focusing forward at a particular point, off to the diagonal corner. Changes the mood. More agency in a confined area, right over here, right over here. And then for coordination, to get the hands dancing together, bring one hand across so you can see the palm and let the other palm face the earth, and then draw both across softly, easily, switch hands, come back, and we have the cloud hands gesture, but it takes a little bit of intention to keep the same flavor going up and down and left and right. Allowing the body to enjoy its agency and the ability to imitate the flavor of movement with the left arm with a different gesture on the right, but the same flavor of energy slowly unfolding. And then we pause again. Let gravity be the main focus of our attention. Just feel how the arms release and hang from the shoulders in relative stillness. Then if we decide to move, we'll move forward this time and reach and stretch the spine, rock back and open. So there's an intention to move forward, intention to rock back, and then kind of sit on a stool. So when you come back, there's a pillar of strength. Everything's lined up, and everything stretches and is soft and bent, and then everything lines up. We get the flavor of that gesture, and we do it on the other side. Reaching, opening, splashing in the sea is the name that we give this, so we can remember to do it again because it feels so good. You want to do it tomorrow morning. Riding the waves, we tune into the uprightness of the spine, like the center of the crown down to the tailbone is lined up and balanced. And the arms move forward, but the head stays in touch with the tailbone. It's just going to let the hips carry the whole spine forward and back. The head's not struggling, the head's not worried about leading. The head is just floating. And the agency comes from the hips. Forward, backward, turning. Forward, backward. Maintaining the same flavor of rolling waves. Intentionally. Avoiding abrupt changes so that the muscles can stretch and tighten up gently with no purpose but just to enjoy. Turning again, we'll enjoy with the arms out, palms up. The idea in the training, to remind students is to feel like the pigeon opening its wings to air out and then turn the palms down and twist all the tendons and muscles and ligaments in the arms from the shoulders to the fingertips. But then having that opening to the sky, stretching, receiving, turning, receiving, turning the wrists. So all the tendons get a chance to stretch and release the tightness and the clinging, opening. Lining up with our feet parallel again, we'll make a fist and sink and let the dragon rise from the sea. So we create an image intentionally to feel the intentionality, the engagement, the agency of the body. We can act with purpose, and we can act with coordination. And the body picks up on that unitary feeling of we're all going to do this together. We're going to spread our wings and fly with the cranes up on the toes. So the arms separate, the toes lift us, and then we'll make a huge circle, moving all the way around and feeling the stretch in the hips, in the spine, in the shoulders, all in the arms. Everything stretching to trace out a circle and then go back the other way. So we intend to make a circle and then operationalize it with the whole body. And then pause and feel the effects of that large movement. When we come to stillness, the sensations through the entire nervous system from the bottoms of the feet up into the neck and the head. And raising one arm and one knee, we bounce the ball. Again, we have this coordination, the same flavor of movement, right and left, arm and knee, but split down the center, opposites. All right, now we're going to unify everything and notice the change in the mood when both hands are working together, both hands are releasing, the breath is coming in, the breath is releasing, the legs are straightening, the knees are bending. When the body is making more symmetrical movement, it's a different flavor. Positive, negative, neutral. What degree of positive? What degree of negative? What degree of neutral? All these gestures call forth different moods. 18 different movements working together to relieve the body of stress, to renew the body, to fill the lungs with new oxygen and replenish the oxygen in the blood for the whole system. And then notice the mood, standing still. So one of the announcements on the calendar for the new year will be a Qigong workshop on the 22nd of, I think it's the 22nd. Anyway, so third Saturday of January in 2022. We shift the pages of a calendar with a whole bunch of new numbers. But it's a chance on the third Saturday to practice movement with attention, with relaxation, with agency, sitting, and then taking time to integrate those renewing movements into a healthy, settled, quiet body, and watching how the mind and body interact as we sit still. And then I'll bring a few Mary Oliver poems and Rumi and other things to also notice how our mood will change from one part of the morning and early to make it, thank you very much. Otherwise, I'll see you in the morning or next Sunday. Take care.
Haha. I have to turn off mute. Can you hear me, Jim?
Kind of low, but you're audible.
Audible.
Alexa, ¿qué hora es?
That was interesting. Hello, Anna. Okay. Thank you. I think, is that loud better now? Loud enough? If I move it closer, it's much better too. How about that? All right. Thank you, Maggie. Okay, I want to get something up here. Where is it? It's here. Put it back up here. Can I move it? Yes, there we go. Gallery. Get rid of me. My parents have been gone for a long time now. More than 25 years and 20 years. It's a long time. I've had lots of stories about them during my lifetime. It was very complicated relationships. And I've been doing a kind of a life assessment from a different perspective since the summer. It's kind of doing itself, really. And there's a way that I'm grateful to them that's been growing as I realize some truth about them. They had their failings. And they also had a basic attitude toward kindness, toward being of service to people. I remembered a couple of events. One was, we lived in Montreal, in a suburb, in an all-white suburb. And a family from the Caribbean, the Rodriguez, purchased the house across the street. And a petition came to the door, one of the neighbors, that they wanted to not allow these people to come live in our neighborhood. And my father said very simply, "That's a ridiculous idea, get off my property." I like that about him. And there was a time, it's now 40 years ago, when my son, Luke, who turned 40 just 3 days ago, was born. They came to visit when Luke was 6 months old. And we went to a restaurant together downtown. Uncle Chen's Garden, I think it was. Anyway, at that dinner, I asked him, what would you, if I asked you for your wisdom, what would you say? And he said, give me a few minutes. And then he said, well, 2 things. Try not to hurt anybody. And interestingly, don't cheat any more than you have to. Now that's some interesting advice, I thought. And my mother was strong on thinking kindly about people, giving people the benefit of the doubt. In the Eightfold Path, there's these 8 facets, right, of a wholesome spiritual life, a wholesome life. The first one is wise worldview, wise understanding. And so we work to bring our worldview into alignment with the way the world is, which is fully impermanent and so on. The 4 Noble Truths. And then when we've got that a little clear, I just, Jim, you would appreciate this. I was just looking at my hand moving and just completely into it. It's like, whoa. How do we operationalize it? If we realize we really do want to change our worldview and our relationship to the world to be more loving and kind, well, what do we do next? And so then there's the second factor of the Eightfold Path, which is called wise or right thought or intention. And so I want to do just a little reflection on that today, and to come in just a few moments to the Loving Kindness Sutra. But mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind is chief, king, queen. If a person thinks or acts based in a mind based in greed, hatred, and ignorance, then suffering follows that person like a wheel in the track of the ox. If a person instead, mind is chief, mind is king, queen, mind leads the way. If a person thinks or acts with a mind rooted in wisdom, love, generosity, compassion, then happiness follows them like the moon in the path of the stars. Hang on a second, I'm being distracted. I don't get to see my daughter Tara as often as I would like, of course. But she's just doing her final trip across the horizon over there. So, it's not that thoughts magically create reality, but our thoughts create our perceptions. They affect how we perceive things. And so to cultivate thoughts, to cultivate intention that is really wholesome, really helpful, is really essential. I was aware of this yesterday during the storm that hit midday, the emotional storm. Watching in myself, the mind could so easily go to judgment, like, oh God, cut the crap. Let's not have another big emotional storm. And much wiser to go to the compassion. It's like, oh boy, being a teenager is so hard. And one gets set off, and then you're out of control. It was the person who had the out of controlness was actually having a panic attack, and then when she came back later, she was all apologetic. It's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to ruin Christmas. And we got to say, well, you didn't ruin anything. And I actually had a brief conversation with her in which I told her, and any of us that have feelings in reaction to your feelings, it's our feelings. We need to take care of them. You didn't create that. So to strongly have in our hearts the intention to think kindly and compassionately, to cultivate that, changes everything. So there's this beautiful, it's like a poem. There's this beautiful chant that I'm going to just read, though. I'll put it up here on the screen. Maybe read along with me. And this is the most beloved of all Buddhist teachings. So let's just do it and we'll see what you think. Guidelines, we could call it Guidelines for Deeply Happy Living. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. And maybe let's chant it together, and please unmute, and we'll have a kind of cacophonous but interesting chant. So I'll do the first little sentence, and then please join in. And these little marks here, this is a tone down, and this is a tone up. You'll see. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
Okay.
Well, that was nice. One of the things that makes the monks chanting, the monks and the nuns chanting, is that there's always some slight discord in the chanting. It makes it a very rich sound. So it's a pretty high aspiration, isn't it? To live in a world where we actively are cultivating having no enemies. So, in this second facet of the Eightfold Path, there are these roots, deeply mammalian roots of actions that cause tremendous suffering. or can. Greed. If the action is rooted in greed, I want for me, I want for my little pack of people, I want, it creates an experience of separateness. It reinforces the experience of separateness. If an action is rooted in anger or hatred, it really reinforces the experience of separateness. If an action is rooted in ignorance, and what are we ignoring? We're ignoring our ultimate, utter interconnection, the temporary nature of life. And if we don't pay attention to that and then we act on it, we have what's happened all over the world all the time. You know, it's a long time ago now, 25 years maybe. I had a favorite radio station, and they started playing this guy who was so angry and nasty. And his name was Rush Limbaugh. And I called the radio station and said, you know, if you're going to play this guy, I can't listen to your station. I mean, this is sickness. This is hatred. This is the opposite of what we want to be cultivating in our culture. And he said, well, get used to it because it's the wave of the future and we're not changing it. So rather than taking some political view, to listen to what are the roots of the thing? What's the root at the feet? What's the root at the root of the feet of the core of what somebody's teaching? And if it's encouraging discord and strongly encouraging having enemy images, then it's got to be not skillful. It's what the Buddha taught, I think, as far as I understand it. So, and we all have all those, right? And they're easy to get fired up again in us. They have emotional roots. So since we are, on an intentional spiritual path, what can we do? Well, we could chant this loving kindness sutra every morning, or sing it to ourselves, or put it on the fridge and notice it for a week or two and then forget it and put something new up. But may all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none. The great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. That's a pretty inclusive list, isn't it? I wish that all beings would be at ease. And I wish it with such a fervency. Oh, then the next line. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings. And then it suggests a practice, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths. It's very straightforward. Seeing the other as inherently worthy of our love. And then we shape our thinking. Here's this person we notice, oh, pardon me, I stayed up too late last night. That's not true. I stayed up exactly late enough and today I'm tired. I don't need to make having been with family late at night a problem. There's something I'm trying to say that I haven't quite got to yet. Back to my parents. They really taught me very strong, fundamental ethics. And those ethics had to do with being kind. And that's had a huge impact. And here we have a teaching that says, well, if what you're about to think, say, or do is rooted in greed, hatred, and ignorance, then why not restrain it? I was able last night, we were headed, my daughter and I were headed to a place where we have a deep-seated conflict, old, having to do with the divorce 25 years ago. And I saw it coming. We went a little too far, I think, and what it can do is bring up bad enemy images, old enemy images about Tar's mother, my first wife. And I could see that coming, and I don't want to go there. And so I started talking about her good qualities and the things that I learned from her and so on. And the conversation went on quite a different track because I didn't want to do that. And that comes straight out of this the second factor of the Eightfold Path, which is shape our conversations and our thinking and our actions in the direction of interbeing, the direction of generosity, the direction of kindness and compassion. So there's still something I'm trying to say. It's like a fundamental compass heading. This is the way I want to be in the world. I've known a couple of people who have fallen into the polarization of left and right in our political world, and it's been kind of tragic for me because I've seen where they're fallen into is all about anger a lot. It's anger and blaming. And that's been validated, and it's actually sort of difficult to be around them because not only is it boring, but it's painful. So here we are, ending the year, and I'm encouraging us to to set our sights on kindness. I wrote a little article decades ago for the PIMC newsletter. It was the Portland Vipassana Sangha newsletter, I think. And it was, I want to be a Buddha when I grow up, which has to do with these aspirations. I'm going to sneeze. Push mute. The mute button's a good thing. Sneezing into a microphone makes a very loud noise. Hang on, I'll be back. So I might be done sneezing. I hope so. And I think I'm done talking. What do you think of taking the Loving Kindness Sutra into your heart and making it yours, living from it? And so I open up this frame. Anyone who'd like to share, please do.
Good afternoon, Robert. Thank you so much for your
Hi,
guided
Elwyn.
meditation. I wanted to ask you, I'm going through a very difficult space with a divorce from my husband of 25 years, and it's very hard to not go into trance during this difficult time. And I wondered if you had any advice. I'm doing my meditation practice in the mornings and on Sundays with you and when I can. And it helps a great deal, but it's very challenging because my husband's not very mentally stable through this process, and it's just made it very hard to stay awake and aware through the process.
"25 years is a long time."
Yeah.
And how old are your kids?
Aubrey is 15 and Bruce is 13.
Mm-hmm. This is not easy for them either, is it?
No, Christmas was very, very challenging. He decided not to make presents or give presents, but when they opened their presents from grandmas and aunts and uncles and myself, he had a meltdown, and he excused himself and went to the bathroom, but he wailed and cried in the bathroom for 2 hours. It was very traumatic for them.
Oh, boy. Whoa, that makes me sad. And what a place he's getting caught in. Speaking of a trance. Huh? Well, I have really brilliant advice for you. I think you just do the best you can. And you lean on friends as much as you can. And you get good professional help. You get good attorney. And have mercy on yourself and everybody there. Really be kind as best you can. And you probably will lose it and not act to the highest aspirations of your behaviors. And then we got to forgive ourselves. You're doing the best you can. And I mean, Christmas can be awful. And we had a couple, well, we had more than that over the years. It's prone to being awful. So I don't know if that's any help, but I have great resonance with and compassion for your circumstance. You will get through it, and the kids will get through it, and they'll be okay. Anything else I could say that might be helpful?
Well, the loving kindness meditation or the metta has been very, very helpful. Thank you.
I guess I have one more thing that comes to mind around that. It's back to Ajahn Sumedho, one of my great heroes. He's now in his 80s, I think. Thai forest monk. And he said on a retreat in thinking of metta and love, love means there's room for everything. And it doesn't mean, however, that we stay in contact with everyone. And he said, love doesn't mean you don't call the police. But it does mean that we don't throw people out of our hearts. And I've been working with that my whole life since I heard it. How to have an impenetrable boundary. Can I say this? Yeah, I guess I can. In that my divorce, which was after 17 years, which I didn't want. I'm glad it happened, but I didn't want. But I was very wimpy. I was very, I still am somewhat phobic of anger. Family history of that. But my opponent in the match tried to get sole custody of the children, and I had been the primary parent. So I had to fight for my kids. And my friend, my dear friend, Michael Shohan, who joins us now sometimes in the mornings, he made a stick for me, like a staff, and gave it to me. And he said, "You may need this." And something came to me that really symbolized something. I took it and in the carpet of my office, and I drew a line. And I stepped back and I picked the thing up like a club, sort of. And I was imagining this person that I was married to. And I said, I intend to be as loving as I possibly can in this process, and forgiving. But you set one toe across that line, and I will take your head off. And I think you may have noticed a change in my tone in that. It was like, I'm going to be nice as best I can. In fact, I paid my attorney a lot of extra money because I sent no communication to my opponent that he didn't read first. Because I said, I don't want one shred of hatred to go through these letters. And he didn't have much to take up, but on occasion he put a line through something. And her experience was that my letters were filled with hatred. So it was very helpful having a witness to say, well, actually, that's not from me. But I had to fight for my kids. Not for me, but for them to lose their father, who had been the primary parent, would have been. So there's something about being really strong through such crises too, and trying new behavior. I know I checked out a few attorneys, 3 attorneys, and the first one I went to, I sat in the parking lot and cried my eyes out for a long time. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have a fight. But in the end, it was essential. It was essential because because we played the game here. So I guess that's also saying I hope you'll really suit up properly and take care of yourself and the kids. And him, for that matter. It doesn't do him any good to act out like that. I mean, it's bad for him. Whew, boy. Suffering.
Good morning, Robert and Sangha and Elowen.
Karen.
Karen here. Elowen, I just want you to know you're not alone. You know, I've been married for 41 years, and my husband and I are going through a real difficult time. And I told him I was gone for a while. Well, one of the things I want to say, Ellen, is just take care of yourself. That's what I decided to do. And what that meant for me was meditating on a very regular basis, journaling, breathing in and out, and just really trying to stay present. I mean, it really helped. But anyhow, and I took off for a while. My kids are grown, so different circumstance there. But when I came back, it was December 12th, and I just, decided to wait until after. I told my husband, let's talk after Christmas. Well, it's December 26th, so we're going to talk today. And he's actually upstairs watching football, but it was really helpful to be here this morning, and your emphasis, Robert, on kindness. And because I have a lot of anger and blame. And I just thought, yeah, I really need to approach this conversation. I'm not even quite sure how I'm going to articulate it, but with kindness. And I also, Ellen, I've been really getting into Stoicism. I don't know if you've read anything about being Stoic, but it goes way back. And I was walking in the snow this morning, and I was listening to this podcast about Stoicism. And one of the tenets is, that basically that, the gods, I mean, they're kind of pretend gods, but the gods give some people really tough situations because they're so great, and they know that the gods know that you're going to get through it, and it sounds kind of silly, but it's helpful, and maybe it might help to just know that you will get through this, and you're strong, because obviously if you weren't, it wouldn't be happening, that kind of thing. So anyhow, my heart goes out to you. And I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone. So.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very, very much. My heart goes out to you too. And all of you, thank you for all your supportive messages. So appreciate it.
May I say something here? Join in.
Who's speaking?
Tamara.
Hi, Tamara. Sure, of course.
Hi. Karen, good luck to you today with your husband. And Elowen, I just went through almost exactly the same thing you did. It was a year ago that I was divorced, and I was together with my husband for 24 years. And he slowly, over the last half of our time together, became more and more mentally kind of just not. He had trouble. And we got divorced last year, and I'm still standing, and I'm actually blossoming now for the first time in years, because the last years of our marriage were not good, and I just couldn't work up the energy to go, and it took me a while to go. He ended up going, but it was the best thing that could have happened, and my heart's with you too, and you'll get through it.
Thank you, Tamara. I just want to say, I think it's, thank you for saying that, the last couple of years were tough, because I think it's so easy, and maybe Ellen, it's for you too, you get so mired in, you get used to things not being good. And so when you can actually sort of extricate, and then, it might take a little time, but it's very reassuring to hear that. So thank you.
You're welcome, girl.
Hey, Robert.
Hello, Mish.
So when you stopped talking today and turned it over for us to chat, what I was left with was gratitude for how fully you share stories. And it's one thing to get your stories from 25 years ago, divorce and whatnot, but to have the Christmas one, because a lot of us know you've been practicing for 50 years. And it's easy in this practice, I think, especially earlier, to get really high expectations of ourselves. And so when you share a story about yesterday with you and Tara, and how when you in particular share the part about yourself going down the street of criticizing your ex-wife and in those old stories, and and then that you made the choice to try and go in the other direction. I think that it's so important for us that you are sharing that complete story. So we don't, it's easy maybe to project onto you, perfection or things like this to really hear that, even at your point in this practice, it's not that we're without that ever. Mm-hmm. It's that you develop choice. So I thought that was then perfect then to hear from Elowen and Karen. It's like, yeah, it's going to be a shit show. You're going to be a shit show. We're all going to be a shit show all the time. And the practice and what we gain is increased moments where we turn the ship here and there. But so just a lot of self-compassion for continuing to blow it. And that's my other thought then for Elowen and Karen and everybody as we deal with life's hardships is not how can I be so perfect and how can I always be getting this right throughout while I'm walking through hellish situations, but how to bring self-compassion while I am totally human and totally trained differently than this path. And I act that way mostly, or much of the time. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. I do have there's the sacred mantra that I share in some circles. You ready? It's got a special sound and the vibrations. One hears the stories about Hindu mantras. This mantra has resonated from so-and-so to so-and-so. But here it goes. You ready? You've blown it. You've acted unskillfully again. Or maybe you've gotten lost in some enemy imaging. And then there's this kind of like, dang, I blew it again. How human. And the short version is, oh, human again. And it's very functional, actually, because if we go to, that was stupid, we're not learning. We're in the same old pattern. But if instead we can move to compassion and realize, oh dear, look at that. Wow, I did it again. Oh, human again. And this human again, and I intend to act differently next time. I intend to rein myself in if I possibly can. And maybe I also intend to do the work I need to so that there isn't so much pent-up stuff behind it. And I don't think we're stuck with the same level of reactivity for life. The who that I am now is so different from who I was before the journey began, really. And the Theravadan model says that the first glimpse of awakening results in a huge diminution of doubt and the belief in rites and rituals. And then the second is a weakening, results in a significant weakening of lust and hate in the personality. And the third, they say, is, and this is theoretical for me, is the elimination of lust and hate in the system. And then the arahat, the fully realized being, is no more restlessness and no more subtle sense of I am. But that I think it's really interesting that the signs of becoming more and more awakened are a reduction in hatred and greed. Quite something. So we're a little after noon, Anybody else? This is such a delicious, important conversation. It just struck me. One of our hopes, as we've studied what other Dharma groups are doing, and is having lots of having when it fits, having groups for people with particular circumstances, and there could easily be a small group, or big, who knows, but of people who are going through divorce, or single parenting, or all kinds of the whole gender issues. So there's many possibilities as we get back in the center. We will not be in at least until the middle of January because of post brackets. These in order to meet code, we have to have a new railing out on the front porch. And the railing on the front porch needs to have metal brackets that go into the cement, and then the post goes up from that, and then we found perfectly adequate brackets that do that, commercial, they're right there, but they don't have an engineering rating, so we can't do it. So we're having to get our own manufactured. And the company that's going to do it won't be back really functioning till the 7th of January. And we can't open till we get those in. I mean, it's really quite silly, isn't it? But I guess it keeps us safe having these tight little rules. But we will be getting back in to start cleaning and so on before then, for sure. So anybody else want to share anything before we go off into our day?
I remember, I don't know what it means, but when we did that Ya Fatah, I wondered if there's that or something that we could do for Elowen and the other lady, directing our Ya Fatahs to them, or something. I would like to be able to express my empathy and sympathy and all of that.
Well, Ya Fatah might be a fine one. That Ya Fatah means, may the path of your heart open before you. May you be safe. May your journey go well. And so why don't we end with that today? Ya Fatah. We fill our hands with our heart energy, and let's make the first one to all beings, and then the second to Elwyn, and then the third one to Karen, and then we'll go on for a bunch more. Okay, so the first one is for all beings, and it's like this: Ya Fatah. So to all beings, Ya Fatah, and Elwyn, Ya Fatah, and Karen, Ya Fatah. And now randomly find someone and wish them, may the path of your heart open before you. Ya Fatah. Ya Fatah. Ya Fatah. Ya Fatah. And notice someone is wishing you well right now. Ya Fatah. 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 Twice more. Ya Fatah. Ya Fatah. You know, I had one more. Another thought came to me as we were doing that. Back at the time of my divorce, now 20 some years ago, 25, 27 years ago, we were required to go to the county in order to file for divorce. We had to go to the county and do a half-day training thing they had. And so we went, and this person wouldn't sit with me. And it was a room filled with couples. There were probably 100 couples, 50 couples. And some of them were holding hands, but there were several presentations. And then there was a break. And I was feeling awful. Oh, God, awful. And I went out for a walk downtown. We had 20 minutes, I think. And it occurred to me that there's the Tonglen practice from the Tibetans, where one reflects upon other people who are in the same circumstances. And the imagination is, you imagine taking their suffering, and it comes and it flows. It's a coil of black smoke that comes into the heart, but it's not my heart. It's the heart of the Buddha or Kuan Yin or someone like that, some archetype. And then one breathes back, may you be happy. So we're taking into the transformer of the heart the suffering, including our own, and then sending it back. And I started doing that, and I'd never really done that practice very much. And I started doing that with all the couples in the room, large room, and then myself and my former wife, and then taking it out into the world. And the realization came to me of how usual my experience was, how common, how the magnitude of it shakes me now. It's so all around the world, marriages are ending and with great difficulty often. And so it just softened my heart tremendously. And I went back in the room and I approached her and said, it just feels terrible to me to not sit together. And she said something like, yeah, me too. So we sat together. It was a small thing, but it arose out of recognizing the common human horrible suffering of that circumstance. I think that dog likes you, Joan.
Yes. I like her too.
All right, dear friends, please have a wonderful day, and may we be up to whatever suffering comes our way. See you tomorrow if you come in the mornings. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Robert. Thank you,
Thanks
Jim.
for coming.
Blessings, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bless.
Robert. Thank you, Jim.
Blessings.
Elowen. Karen.
Thank you, tomorrow. Thank you, Karen.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Robert.
Bye, Tamara. Bye, Roseanne.
Thank you, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
All right, are you ready for the leap to hyperspace? Goodbye, friends on... Can't find you. There, friends on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.